Okay, so today I'm going to try and install this roof rack on my car. Replace the terrible plastic factory ones that I don't like. So I just took the roof rack out of the box, just kind of wanted to make sure we have everything seems to be in order. Have a big bag of all the hardware that I'm gonna have to sort through, but the first step before doing any of this is removing the factory rails. And that requires dropping the entire headliner of the car, so I'm just gonna start pulling off panels and we'll see where we get. Disconnecting the battery first for two reasons. One, so that I don't electrocute myself, but then two, the one I'm actually doing this for is so that I don't set off a side curtain airbag when removing the internal body panels. Now it's time to just try and follow these instructions. I've got my assorted automotive trim removal tools and hopefully gonna drop all of this down. So I've discovered that while the directions are very nice to have, and I've watched a few YouTube videos on how to do this, none of the videos have been on this model year of Outback. These directions are also not for this exact model year of Outback, so there's some things that are different. So I think I generally have an idea of what I need to do. Again, it's drop the headliner, so I'm using these instructions as a guide right now, but not looking for like a one-to-one relation between every single piece they say to find. And just generally I'm working on taking out the trim around the A, B, and C pillars and D pillar, and hopefully then they'll get me to be able to drop the headliner. So I think it's going okay right now, and hopefully I'll start making a little more progress now that I'm understanding I need to just remove what I need to remove and not follow the directions to a T. I took a quick break to have some coffee and breakfast. Catherine made some eggs, which is very nice of her. They're very good. Now I'm going to get back to it. I've got the back half mostly out, and I'm working on the front half of the car. Having a little trouble with the B-pillar paneling and trying to get that around the seatbelt because the 2013 Outback is very different from what everyone is in the model in the directions. And so hopefully I'll figure that out quickly and keep moving forward. All right, I think we're ready to drop the headliner. I've undone everything that I think I need to undo. I've only broken one clip so far, which I think is good. It's taking me a few hours, it's kind of going slowly, but I'm trying to be careful. Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. And this is what the roof of my car looks like. Right now it's just kind of hanging down by whatever wire connections it has, so I'm going to prop it up to this shelf. Hopefully take a little stress off those wire connections, and then what I got to do is get to some bolts to unscrew the nuts that are on the studs attached to these rails that go into the roof. Got one of the roof rails off, time to do the other one. I'm not going to bother trying to film that. Got the roof rails off. Now I'm just gonna clean up all this dirt, and while that dries, maybe run to the store and get something. I've got a few ideas that I might want to try and squeeze in today, so we'll see how I'm feeling later. Gonna sort all the miscellaneous hardware that came with the roof rack and then make a decision about what I do next. So when I was inventorying the hardware for the roof rack, I initially thought that I was missing some hardware because the instructions, again, are not for my specific model year of car of Outback. I went and watched their install video on a 2013 Outback, and they used little different amounts of hardware and different things. So I'm not missing any specialty hardware. I need to get some sealing tape and some other stuff. Yeah, so I just spent the past 2 hours trying to figure out what I need. I think I have a list. It seems like Home Depot has most of what I want, not everything, so I'm hoping I can just go there and find something similar to what I need, and if not, then go to Menards or Harbor Freight or whatever, but just get whatever I can to finish up this process. While I had the headliner dropped, I also wanted to run wiring for a backup camera from the tailgate to the front of the car and put some insulation in the roof, which is not going to do anything, but I'll cover that when if and when I decide to do that. So yeah, hopefully I can find what I need at Home Depot and other surrounding stores. Okay, so I just got back from Home Depot, spent way too much money on just a few fasteners, but that's the price you pay for buying them at a big box store instead of getting them in bulk from a supplier, I guess. Need them today. It is what it is. So, of the 8 holes that held up the factory roof rails, the rack that I have only uses 5. So 3 of those need to get filled somehow. The instructions said to do it one way, the video said to do it another way. I didn't have what I needed to do either of those, so I went out and bought what I think is the best solution I could come up with right now. I think there's a better one out there that would require hardware that I can't get day of. So basically what I'm going to do is yeah, let's get to it. Okay, I'm on the last hole that I have to seal. I'm really not thrilled with how this is turning out. I think it'll hopefully be fine and waterproof. It's just not as clean of a solution as I was hoping for, and it's also kind of hard to implement. I was hoping I'd have a system down by the last one to show, but while I have a system, it's not super effective. So basically, I'll take this waterproofing tape, which is kind of hard to peel the back off of. Takes a few tries to get it to peel. And then I put this over the hole. And in the video I watched, this was all they did. In the instructions, it talks about having like a gutter trim to put in there, which I don't have with this kit. And I think in the video they just left these exposed, and I'm a little torn here. I think technically this would be fine. I mean, it's waterproof now, but I didn't like the idea of it just being this waterproofing tape because it could get punctured. So this is probably the most waterproof solution, but I wanted to have, metal covering it up. So then what I do is I pierce the waterproofing tape so it's not waterproof anymore. And then I put my screw washer bolt stack in, and then trying to get the nut and washer on is a real pain. So what I've come up with is taking a little bit of masking tape, putting it on the bottom of a wrench. It doesn't stick super well because there's silicone and everything at this point, so it's not working great. Putting the nylock nut in the bottom, stacking the washer on top, and then taping them together. And this usually takes multiple attempts. And then I just kind of blind go in, feel around until I have an idea of where the hole is. Oh boy, alright, so 4 or 5 attempts later, got it. And then what I do is put some silicone in, seal up underneath it. Then I put some silicone in, underneath, trying to get some in between the head of the bolt and the washer. And then I tighten it down, and that just kind of spreads the silicone around as I do that. That's probably good enough. And then silicone around, trying to cover up the head of the bolt. Nothing sits in there. Just make a little mound so the water doesn't get trapped in there. And hopefully this ends up being waterproof. What an unfun process that was. So after spending an hour and a half, a little over, installing 6 bolts, I am going to take a break and have some dinner. And then after dinner, hopefully I'm just going to come back and throw this roof rack on without a hitch. And that'll be it for today. Well, after about 14 and a half hours total today, I've got 90% of the roof rack on the vehicle. Kind of pigeonholed myself into doing this because I started going down the path of installing pieces that had sealant or thread locker on them, and so then I just kind of had to do everything, finish it up, do it all in one go before everything's set. Catherine actually came out and was able to help, which was really useful. So she put washers on bolts for me so that I could just grab them and put them in the crossbars, not have to do that myself, which actually saved a lot of time. Like before she came out, I was working on that and it was taking me a while. Then she came out and we zipped through the thing in 10 minutes. So thank you, Catherine, and for letting me use your car to go to Home Depot. And tomorrow we will finish putting on the final touches to the roof rack and then hopefully do the other projects I went to. Okay, day 2. Just gotta put the wind deflector on the roof rack, and that'll be it for that. And then gonna try and get the backup camera and insulation installed. Okay, so this is the backup camera that I wanted to install. I don't actually have a stereo unit to put in the front of my car to hook this up to yet, because those are expensive and I don't want to buy one right now. But I wanted to install this and run the wiring while I have the headliner down anyway. But first I wanted to test it to make sure that it works, since I wouldn't be able to verify it with plugging it into the stereo up front. I have this adapter that plugs into the wall outlet, puts out like a 12-volt carport cigarette lighter sort of thing. And it's kind of sketchy, but basically just taped the wires for the positive and negative leads of the camera at the angles that replicate an automotive plug, because it's the ground is your outer ring, and then the 12-volt positive is your center pin, and then just kind of hold it in there, hold it in place. I get the contacts there, yeah. LEDs turn on. So that works. And then I've got the video output hooked up to this small TV we have in the garage. And we'll see if we can get a video signal to that. There we go. So there's the ceiling and the phone camera balanced on top of a storage bin and lid on top of a lamp we have in the garage, since I do not own a tripod. So that's how we're getting this shot right now. If you look at the screen, you'll notice it's black and white. That's because this TV has component input, which has a separate red, blue, and green input. The video signal for the camera is RCA, which is just one video. It's all 3 channels in one. So I just have this plugged into the green channel. So theoretically, this should be in color when it's plugged into a RCA port, which will be on the back of the stereo receiver that I install in my car at some point in time in the future. Okay, I got all the interior panels of the hatch pulled off, and the necessary exterior one is missing right there. That's what's sitting on the back bumper. Didn't film any of that, and I'm probably going to be filming less and less as the day goes on because it's 2:30 now, and I don't want to have another night working all the way until 10:30 when it finishes up, so I can be done with the day and ready to drive to work tomorrow. So this is the panel where the license plate lights mount. I'm going to replace the left one with the camera. The wires were both black leading to it. It said no, it was positive and negative, so I had to hook the battery back up, plug in the connector, and then I don't have a digital multimeter to check for the polarity, so basically I just took an LED that was polarity sensitive and touched it to the terminals, see which one was positive, which one was negative, and then marked the corresponding wire, the positive one, with some red electrical tape. So that was how I solved that problem. Should probably get a multimeter at some point in time. I'm going to do more electrical work. So this is the wiring schematic I drew up for myself just to make sure I'm connecting everything right. But basically I'm going to put this camera in there, connect the wires for the LEDs to the previously existing wires for the license plate light. Then that's going to come back from the outside in through a grommet here into the rear hatch, run the wires along here. I'm going to connect the camera to this, which is the reverse light. So I'm going to cut this open, splice into these wires, connect to the reverse light, so that way whenever I shift the car into reverse, the camera will get power and turn on. And the purpose of connecting the LEDs to these license plate bulbs is that those are always on when the lights are on. So that's why they're connected to 2 separate places for power. And then that'll all run through here, through the factory cable cover from the hitch down, keeping with the factory wiring, and then just shoot along with these wires all the way to the front of the vehicle. Okay, got all the panels of the hatch back in, cameras installed. Running the cord with the big plug on the end through this was a real pain, but got it. All that's left to do now is attach this cable to the factory ones right up to the front. And then I'm going to try to install this Reflectix insulation with some double-sided tape along the headliner. I've thought about this a fair amount, and the way Reflectix normally works is it's supposed to create a radiant barrier, which needs an air gap. So normally it'd be like on the roof, right? And you hang this from your joists, you have your roof, an air gap, and then the Reflectix, which bounces heat back, but it needs that air gap to work. I'm thinking if I put it on the headliner, there will be a slight air gap between the Reflectix and this metal roof. I think 3/4 of an inch is generally the minimum they recommend. It's not going to be anywhere near that, so it might do nothing, but I'm hoping that's worst case scenario. I'm hoping that it at least does something, makes a marginal difference. Maybe just having some more material up there helps with sound deadening. I wouldn't have gone out and bought this for this purpose. I just already had the roll left over and wanted to find a use for it. So this might be pointless, but who knows? All right, got the insulation in. It is not great, but it's gonna have to do because it's 7:30 and I need to drive to work tomorrow. So now I just undo all the work, tearing apart my car, throw all the panels back on, and hopefully we're done. Got the headliner in. Wasn't too bad. It's going together a lot faster than it's coming apart, which makes sense because all the trim pieces are designed to kind of self-locate and just snap in place because they're assembled by robots in a matter of minutes in the factory, so not too bad. I haven't been recording because I just want to get done, but I am going to record this mostly just for my own sake as a reminder. The RCA and trigger wire output for the backup camera is hidden in the driver's side A-pillar. So whenever I go to replace this stereo, then I'll know that's where that is.